Thank you for coming today and thank you for filling out the questionnaires and taking time to do all this. We really appreciate it. And above all, thank you for running for city service, elected official. That's a tough thing, and we appreciate the time that it takes to prepare and give time away from your families and all of that. So so thank you for that. Welcome to the BIA, the Building Industry Association of the Red River Valley. We just went through a name change and formally the Home Builders Association, Fargo-Moorhead. We are recording the session again, and so it will be shared with members so that they can also make decisions for the election as well. I'm Grace Johnson. I'm the CEO of the BIA. I've been here over 32 years. I'm also the administrator for our health plan and the foundation administrator for Home Builders Care Foundation. So we run 3 organizations that were under the roof of the BIA with a staff of 7 and plus 2 interns. We'd like to welcome you here this morning. We try to do these kinds of activities to help our members really just make good decisions with in the election, and as well as build relationships with our future elected leaders. Whatever the outcome is, the communities are in good hands, and we appreciate the time and effort that it takes to run for an election and then to commit to that time to the job. So we appreciate that very much. The Building Industry Association is comprised of just over 700 members. We are not a chamber of commerce. We're similar to a chamber of commerce, except we focus on building industry, where the chamber focuses on businesses as a whole. So we're unique in that sense, and we provide a lot of services to our members, education, changing laws, bringing them up to speed so they can stay in compliance, but then also focus on workforce issues, giving back to the community, advocacy in terms of what it's going to do to the end user, the homeowner, the home buyer, because whatever impact that's going to have is usually going to have an impact on the building industry altogether, and how we do things. So we're a very complicated organization in terms of what we do. The bottom line is we're a resource for our elected officials and for our city officials, and we just encourage you to utilize us. We have a lot of data and resource that we can provide so that you can stay up to speed on the challenges in the industry, which hopefully will provide better housing, better planning for your community, and so on, and make your community the best it can be. So with that, just a little bit of ground rules on how the forum works. What we'll have you do is we'll give you each 3 minutes to introduce yourselves and share your platform and that sort of thing. We at the 30-second mark, Elizabeth will hold up a yellow card, and then she'll ring a bell if you get to this girl. Mark on that. We ask that you just respect that time so we can ensure we get all the questions and that you each have an ability to answer everything that you want to answer. So with questions and answers, we'll have a Q&A session after the introductions, and for that we'll do a 1-minute quick Q&A, because I have a feeling there's gonna be a lot of questions for this one. So we'll do 1 minute for that sort of 30-second mark. She'll hold up the card for that one. So with that, what I'm gonna have everyone else do is introduce themselves, and if you could share your company name and how you're also involved with the BIA, and if you're a resident of Horace or not, or where you're from.
I think because we probably switched the rules to 3 minutes, and then you said she was gonna hold it up at 30 seconds for that first. I know we were doing a minute. You said she was gonna hold up the yellow card at 30 seconds. Do you think we should do hold it up at 1.5 minutes? Does that make sense?
You can end whenever you want.
Oh, 30 seconds left. Did she change that?
Yeah.
Did you mean that? Oh, okay. I know last time it was a minute, so I thought you were gonna hold it up at 30 seconds. So
Thanks for paying attention.
Okay. Shane's heard it different. Okay.
Yep, you have a full 3 minutes.
Yeah, Shane.
yeah. Are we square on the rules?
Yes, got it. Sorry, I've been here for 3 days.
Yes,
Kind of threw me off on the 3 minutes.
You did, awesome. No, that's wonderful. I'm glad they're paying attention. That's good. Okay, so can we just have everybody introduce themselves, go around the room? Please, Steve.
I'm Steve Larson with Heritage Homes, and obviously we're involved because we're in the building industry and we also have a lot of interest in the Horace area, so. That's what. Thanks. You're next. Tyron Leslie with Heritage Homes and a life director. Don't get. Marble coach. And I'm just saying.
Hi, good morning. I'm Don Dammert, Dammert Homes, Concrete Development, River's Edge, Preview. Did a few things in Horace. I am a past president, local and state, past state rep and current national area director for NAHB and a senior delegate, senior life.
So much better than Tyron.
My turn.
Shane Cullen, Building Concepts, Horizon Real Estate Group. Serve on the Public Issues Committee for BIA.
John Zeiss, J&L Construction, on the board for the BIA and the board liaison to the public issues.
Hi, I'm Joyce Lawson, with Edge Manager at Anderson Tile, and I'm the Associate Vice President for the BIA.
Dan Lamon, Haven Homes on the Public Issues Committee, and I live in Richard Horace.
Elliot Steinberg, Studio West Homes. I am Public Issues Committee and Vice President of the Home Builders Care Foundation.
Matt Lewis with Western State Bank. I am the current chair of Public Issues Committee.
Kevin Malloy at Gate City Bank. I'm a mortgage lender. Been doing that for 28 years. And I'm on the Public Issues Committee for Builder Industries Association.
I'm Bill Rothman, I'm the CFO from the Gilbert Group, and I'm the current president of the BIA.
Matt Olson with All Star Construction. I am president-elect of the BIA. Just built a new building, Horace.
Elizabeth, we get.
Oh, I'm Elizabeth Kozel with the Building Industry Association. I'm the Education Public Affairs Coordinator here.
And so she coordinates all these activities too, and you've probably been corresponding with her, so we're very thankful for Elizabeth. She is wonderful. Okay, so with that, why don't we start with you, Jordan, if you want to just give us a little background or platform, whatever you'd like to do.
Cool. Yeah, I'm Jordan Kraus. I am a resident of Horace as of about 4 years ago. My father passed away about 4 years ago, and at the time my grandmother was my only living relative, and so she lived in Horace, and her neighbor passed away, and she was like, "Good news, you're going to move in next door." Yeah, so we moved to Horace. My husband's a police officer for West Fargo. We have 4 kids, 3 adopted through foster care, 1 of our own. And so I also was just raised in a home that if you wanted to complain about something, you had to get involved. And I tried to bring a business to Horace, and it was very difficult. And so I was like, okay, like there's something that needs to be changed out here. If I'm going to keep complaining, then I have to be willing to get involved. So I serve on PTO. I'm very involved with anything out there that I can get involved with. I'm on the Lions now. So I just wanted to learn a lot, run for city council, so at least that I could maybe understand things if they couldn't be done, or at least like help offer a solution of things that I was very frustrated with. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. I grew up in West Fargo, went to West Fargo High. I'll be 30 in May, so I am younger. But yeah, that's kind of what I got.
Well, thank you. All right.
I'm Rachel Dwyer. I am a 5th generation Horace resident, and my great grandparents homesteaded there in 1891. And then when I was in 4th grade in 1991, my parents and I moved in when my grandmother went to the nursing home to the original Samuelson farmstead. And I lived there to graduation, college, married my husband Jack. We moved to Grand Forks for a while for grad school. And then when I was pregnant with our first kiddo, who's 14 now, we moved back to Horace. We wanted to raise our family in the peaceful countryside in Horace. And quickly, so we bought the farmhouse, the original farmyard and house from my grandparents, and my parents built on adjacent land. And my grandmother decided that she didn't need all that farmland around Horace. And so my husband, Jack, pitched to her that she should continue owning it and that he would work with her, and he does real estate law. So he's been developing land out there. We didn't move to Horace for him to develop land, but it kind of happened and it's gone really well. But I feel strongly that I'm partly old Horace, that I grew up out there when it was small town, and now I also love what's happening with it. I love my neighborhood, and I want to continue seeing Horace flourish. I am a professor of French at Concordia College. It's my 19th year in the classroom. Before that, I had 13 years teaching French in area high schools. And I will say that I have never done anything like this before. I've never ran for office. But I think the classroom things that we go through every day are pretty transferable skills, like listening to students and advocating for them, finding compromise in situations, serving on committees, organizing events and field trips, being the advisor of so many extracurriculars. And so what I don't know about, and I think it's a lot in the survey that I did have to do quite a bit of research on, but I'm willing to dig in and learn about it. And I'm a quick study. And just last night I was looking into TIF districts. And so there's plenty that's new to me. I did study business at Concordia, so budgets and things of that nature aren't foreign. And I just love Horace, and I really want to see Horace continue to be an amazing place. I think there's always compromise and balance to be found on any issue with 4 kids, middle school to elementary school kids. And we just want to be part of keeping Horace thrive.
Wonderful. Well, welcome to both of you. So I wanted to also mention Naomi Berkland, the incumbent, was also invited. She had another commitment, so she could not be here today. And also Sitting Council member Jeff Trudeau was also invited. He is running for mayor, so his seat will be vacant. And he was unable to make it today as well. But they both were invited to be here this morning. So with that, again, if you have questions, just raise your hand, flag me, or if it's something you want to text me, that's fine too. But if nobody has any questions, I'll go ahead and start it up. Anyway, you pointed out in your questionnaires that you had filled out a little bit of already, but give us your thoughts on communities offering incentives for housing and business developments. And these are 60-second answers now, so at 30 seconds, she'll play you. Do you want to go first?
Sure.
Rachel,
Good question.
What are your thoughts on communities offering incentives to businesses and for housing, economic incentives?
Yeah, I fully support that. I think it's important to incentivize your business and your family to Horace. I'm in full support of the tax abatements. I think that anything we can do to encourage and support, I think we have to have the infrastructure to have the businesses and families there. We have to make sure that that is keeping up with the growth and is ahead of the growth, really. But I do fully support incentives to bring families and businesses to Horace.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I feel like Rachel and I are very similar. We're on the same page about a lot of things. But I think also with us being surrounded by communities that all offer those things, West Fargo, Moorhead, all the things, I think it was maybe a stumble of ours to say that we weren't going to support that. When we do have a lot of developable land and we do have a lot of opportunity to bring more families and businesses to town. Also as a family, like I would love more businesses in Horace. So I would love to not drive to town for different things. So I fully support business and residential incentives.
Right, thank you. What role should the city play with growth? start with that one.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the city has an opportunity to sit at the table of those conversations, and give their insights. And I think that maybe the workability hasn't been there. So, being more open to meetings and meeting with developers and business owners and your residents at time to be willing to look at everybody's ideas and then put a good, community oriented development or business, whatever it is, in with good walkability is really important to us. And like connecting the city. I live on the south side of town and we can't get to anything in town without driving because there is no sidewalks or things like that from the development that we're in.
I think the city has a huge role to play. From the zoning, even just with the mill rate that they set, trying to keep things affordable for families. How they assess, I think a lot does fall on the city. Of course, kind of how they plan out their city and then how they support that. I think really does fall hugely on the city. I know they have their plan and they try to follow that and just making sure, I guess, that it all is continuing to make sense as Horace evolves.
Are there any policies or ordinances in Horace that you would like to see changed? If so, what would be your new proposal and, are any of them housing building related to that? So we'll start with you, Rachel.
Oh, I haven't really thought about that too much. I really have to dig in a little bit. I haven't really, to be honest with you, I don't have any things that I'm coming in kind of upset about. I just want to sort of be like a balanced, logical person that issues are coming to and that I want to dig in and look at, but I don't have any specific things that I'm particularly upset with, that I can think of.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
Cool. I do. I feel like and I think everybody will agree with this, but I feel like we make decisions on a daily basis of what code we're gonna follow, what code we're gonna stand behind. Are we gonna stand behind a city ordinance or are we gonna stand behind the state code? I brought a very simple business to Horace, a bouncy house inflatable business. And I have hired an architect and a structural engineer to tell me that the building that I'm in is safe for children to do that. However, in the 5 months I've been there, kids are bouncing every day and it's okay. So it's like, we can't get to the finish line because we don't have a list of codes or a list of requirements because the city cannot provide that. We also have a building inspector that cannot communicate to save his life. We've become really good pals in this experience. And I think he's super knowledgeable, but I think that we need to put somebody in place to communicate for him. Maybe find somebody that could do both jobs or have help of somebody else, the person above him maybe helping at times too.
Okay, wonderful. What suggestions do you have for increasing attainable housing in Horace? And the definition attainable, affordable can be a lot of things. So we started with you, right, Rachel? Okay, it's really good when there's two.
I know.
Like back and forth. So Jordan.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a good idea of that. I think that we need to trust the people that are really good at that, which are you guys. And I think that we need to come to the table and be willing to listen to you because that's what you guys do every day. And then as the collective 5 of us that sit at the table, we make a decision of of the things that you bring to us, just as we would in any other setting.
I think having a wide variety of housing available, I think having, your question about inclusionary zoning was interesting because I think entry-level homes still are not attainable for a lot of families. They still are pretty high. And so just making sure that there's multifamily townhomes in around Horace, there should be a wide variety of housing products for any family's income level and for any age group. I think that there are also some things for people 65 plus that could go into place. I was looking at a couple areas that have some exemptions on specials for people in that age bracket, because you hate to see people have to leave their home because rising prices.
Do you, any questions yet, or build on any question? Be afraid to,
You're doing good, Bryce.
okay. Please wait till I think we're wrapping it up, then they start rapid firing questions out here. If you, do you feel that the city of Horace right now is, interested in building or, maybe building on that deferred housing model, that there is enough of those housing units coming in, whether it's entry level new construction, new homeowners, or you know, say the more density type twin homes, townhomes, and that sort of thing. And back to Rachel on this one.
I can't speak for the 5 of them. It seems like they're pretty reactionary, maybe, but I do think that they do welcome a lot of different housing products that come in. Sometimes I wonder if it could be just planned a little with a little more thought, but I think they do. I know they don't deny very much, they say, and it just does seem a little reactionary at times, their decisions.
Yeah, I think we ask a lot of questions when we're at council, and a lot of meetings and planning and staff time has happened. And so when I met with the city admin, it was a lot of like, why are we coming to council and asking a ton of questions of like, why a plot looks this way, or why does this, like, those are all things that I've already spent a ton of time on, whether it's city staff, engineer staff, all you guys. And then we're asking that at council. So I think we need to do a better job of like being available in prior meetings, and going to council with a good educated background, at least, to make an educated vote without getting all your information at the meeting.
Sure, sure. How would you balance, old Horace residents who don't really want growth, and they're concerned about growth, they're concerned about their property values, with now the new residents that you're trying to attract or are already there, who want to see Horace grow and see that tax base grow? Start with you, Jordan.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that everybody of Old Horace doesn't want to see Horace grow. My grandma lives out there, and I feel like she's holding on to her house because there's not senior living for her to go to. So I mean, she's a single person in a 4-bed, 2-bath or bi-level. She doesn't want to leave Horace, but there's like, what other option is she going to go to right now? And she's also a proud homeowner, so she might not want to go rent right away. And so I think that I think maybe we just need to approach growth in the sense of like, maybe we go and build senior living and we have more ways of keeping our current residents, and attract them to stay too. But I don't think we have that option right now. Okay.
I noticed that old Horace people and new Horace people come together a lot. Sort of, if there's a reason, like if your children are playing together or if you're all at the park, I think more events in Horace. Horace Elementary does a lot of events. I feel like we flip flop between president and vice president of PTO every year for the last few years. And so we've actually been meeting tonight that will be
You're all invited.
But it's those community events that I do think bring people together. And once you know and like each other, that kind of opens the door maybe to find some common ground. I really believe in connecting Horace neighborhoods in a safe way through multi-use paths. I think that also would help. Just seeing the benefit of other areas of town. Your kids are playing at that neighborhood with those people. You don't not like them. They're just other families. They just are more recently Horatians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Grace, do you want to ask your question you've been asking? That's a great question.
Stand up, Joyce.
Trying to.
She is.
So, you know, we listen to all
everybody running for city commission, and they all want affordable housing and everything, and nobody comes to the table with any ideas or anything like that. And a lot of them, like Fargo people, they're not open to, anything different, basically, that's kind of what anyways, I've traveled to a lot of different states, and a lot of communities have, and maybe this isn't a great name for it, but like a tiny home situation where people like your grandmother can have her own living space, but she doesn't have an enormous loft and all that stuff. And it's just much more affordable. She can take care of the home on her own. This would be for not young families, obviously, but like elderly, single, young professionals. It's a way to get in a home. But obviously, and this is so much nicer than, and I don't mean to say trailer parks are trashy like the wind parks, but these are more well cared for. They usually have covenants and all this stuff. And would you be open to zoning for something along that line? It would have foundations,
Yeah, I mean, I honestly am hungry for new ideas like that. I think that when people bring something to the table that's creative and new and different and well thought out, it's great. And so it would just be a matter of having zoning that would allow for more houses at higher density in single residence. Yeah, absolutely. Finding the right spot for it. I think it's a great idea. There are certain populations that don't really have a place in Horace that fits just right. Yeah, I'd be super open to that.
Yeah, Shane, Justin Berg very well. I had lunch with him the other day, and he gave me the whole tiny home spiel. It was super interesting. So I loved it. And so I thought that was super cool. I just pulled a permit to build my grandma a tiny home, but it has to be attached to my house because we don't allow twin homes in my neighborhood. So, I think like it's really important to me to bring ideas to the table of like having senior living is obviously very important to me. In Horace, I think it's a great place to have seniors. And then entry level houses are great. Tiny homes I think it'd be a fun community as long as it has good walkability and it was all connected and it feels very community driven. It'd be
Give us an idea of what public service achievement you're most proud of. Let's start with you.
goodness. I feel like I just go to work often. So I mentioned in the beginning, I have 3 kids that are adopted. So I was in the foster care system for about 7 years. And I had 17 children throughout those years. And so when we adopted our 3rd kid, my husband was like, cool, I'm a police officer all day. I go to chaos all day. And then you want to bring 30 kids into our house every night. So he's like, a different way would be cool. So we started a nonprofit and we go into all the schools. And we just take all the other nonprofits around and we put resources around kids that are either in foster care, at the brink of going into foster care, or maybe they just have parents that some maybe don't care. Maybe they don't have the resources or the skills to put things around their kids. So that's what I'm most proud of. I spend a ton of time making sure that we have more employable youth in our future. So it's really
I don't have anything like that. Like we've mentioned, I have served as president or vice president of Horace Elementary PTO since 2019. And then in 2018, I pitched a Horace Elementary Lego robotics class with different classes for different ages. And I worked with Horace Science to get the robotics. And so since then, I've been teaching that. But I still will say that pales in comparison to just the day ins and outs of being a teacher. The meetings I'm at and the students that are in my office and the lunches I don't eat because somebody's having a tough day. I am proud of PTO, but I feel like I spend the vast majority of my energy with students and at meetings and trying to make things better in their lives and help them succeed.
Thank you. Okay, Rachel, we'll start with you on this. Thinking to the future, what issue do you think Horace is going to be dealing with? And how would you work to remedy it?
Right now, I think something that I keep hearing buzz about is just the urban sprawl, maybe that there are businesses that want to come to Horace, but kind of where to put them. the comprehensive plan was written a bit back. I think that they have a future land use map that I think they're going by. I have to look into that more, but I think just knowing which direction to place things is pretty huge right now. It will dictate a lot of how the roads are used and where traffic is and where, how many people end up in, Horace proper, I guess, but, I think just like where to situate the commerce around and in Horace, I think is gonna be kind of a fundamental question.
Okay.
I would say the biggest issue I see for this room is, again, streamlining our process of building and Horace and working with city staff. And then educating our council of what needs to be voted on. One addition we've gone through, it's hit council probably 5 times. Why? So streamlining processes, being more educated on the front end. And when you get to a council meeting, being really ready to vote on and make a project. Or you guys spend a ton of time working on things. And I think right now, Horace maybe just takes their time, so.
Thank you. Would you change anything as a city council member and how the city council operates with their sessions and interacts with the public if elected? And do we start with you? Go back to
Yeah,
Jordan.
I don't know. I think we spend the money and get better, like, live streaming videos, making it easier to watch. I wanted to watch some that I can't attend right now, and it's always very lagged. So I think streamlining a lot of our processes. Maybe we have to hire another person. We are growing. So I would say right away, we just really need to build out communication and telling everybody that wants to come to Horace that we do want to work with you.
There's some talk about the council not trusting the staff, that they'll assign a job, like, please look into
Lawnmowers.
lawnmowers. And then they come up with a pitch, and I don't know because I'm not on council, so I'm curious about this to see if it is, I guess, true, that there could be more trust given to staff. It appears that way, but it's hard to know if you're not on council. That maybe city council meetings aren't necessarily the time to scrutinize. I don't know, it's tricky. I think it's hard to know until, I don't know, the in and outs of the employees and what the work they do, and if there needs to be more staff. I don't know that yet. But I think that there does need to be some scrutiny there with the efficiency of the staff.
So do you think there's maybe, there's a reason why there's distrust of staff? Do you think there's confident staff from, it was I mentioned earlier, maybe a building inspector, lack of communication, lack of transparency, city administrator, city engineer, public works? I mean, I could go on and down the list, but are you guys prepared to go in, fire, or do I stop? Are either of you prepared to really take a review if you were to have that portfolio of city staff and make the necessary decisions of, maybe some tough decisions of either additional or replacement?
Yeah, I mean, without getting super opinionated, replacement is definitely maybe an option. When I picked up my packet, I quickly got an email of I was maybe going for someone's job. And it was like, I don't need to replace someone, I just need someone to communicate. So, and if it's like, I want to be in Horace because I live there. So if you didn't want to be in Horace and it was that difficult, why would you not just turn away and go somewhere else?
Mhm.
So I think like, I stuck with it because I really wanted to be there and I was already committed to a building and I had spent a bunch of money. And so I just feel like it was super difficult.
How do you think we feel?
Yeah, I totally feel that. So my dad, I grew up in property management. My dad owned a handful of apartments. He wanted to be a stay-at-home dad when I was little. So, and he was like, I'm gonna do that by managing apartment buildings and dragging you and your brother to all of them. And he had an inspector came out and tell him that he compromised the deck. And he was like, don't use big words. Tell me what I did to the deck that made you upset and I will rebuild the deck. But the inspector kept saying, you compromised the deck, you compromised the deck. And he was like, you give me a plan of how you want the deck built and I built it. Like, I'll build it. And I think just like, there's times we get in roles that we just hide behind maybe a rule rather than just work. So we really need to get better. 100%.
I think there's some connections between people that as things shift, those connections won't be there, if that makes sense. There are some people that are just really tied to other people. And I think that's all going to change. And I don't have any friends that work there. I don't have any family members that work there. I don't have any reason not to go in there and shake things up. I hear frequently that things are really inefficient. And I know there's just too many connections, it seems like, but I know some of that's changing with the new council coming in. People leaving. There's some tight friendships there.
Any other questions? Dane? Oh, and then Shelley?
So, current sitting council, they seem to take things very personally. So my question to you guys, do you consider yourselves objective? And if somebody comes at you with something, are you gonna take and look at it objectively, or are you gonna get insulted and then fire back with what's your personality type?
And I think Rachel's right.
Yeah, I actually feel like I've thought about this quite a bit. And I don't really have any skin in the game in the overall city of Horace. I don't have any agenda really. I just am interested in the big picture. And I don't really mind being criticized. I have some really aggressive middle schoolers at my house who think I'm super lame. And I mean, no, jokes aside, I don't mind it. I feel like in Lost River, we go through it a lot anyway. And that actually feels quite a bit more personal. This feels like not personal at all, super objective, the city of Horace in general. I didn't make the decisions that put everything into place. So I don't have any reason to be offended about how things stand.
Yeah. I live on a road with a private gate put on it, and I didn't know the gate existed. So, but I went to a council meeting saying that all the neighbors wanted this gate, and I live 2 houses from the gate. And so I was like, I didn't know the gate existed. Why are we putting gates over private road or public roads? And so I also don't think I've been in Horace long enough to have a passion about saving anything or anything like that. So I want to see growth. I want to see more of my friends move to Horace. I want my kids to have all different types of kids to be friends with. I want programs to be there. I love being in Horace. I don't want to drive to Just for Kicks in West Fargo anymore. Like all those things. Like I want Horace to evolve, and I don't think I have any sort of agenda. We go to PTO once a month and get told that we plan dances wrong, so I think we're ready for you telling us we did something wrong. So, yeah.
Shelley?
So this is something I haven't even asked all the candidates that we should from the different cities, but when you're running, what do you see as your biggest obstacle, I guess, of getting your name out there? And, I guess, what is your plan for running and getting elected? Or do you have a plan? Do you see parts where you may need help with that plan getting out there?
Yeah, I ordered some yard signs so far. We're doing a town hall meeting on Thursday. I think it's helpful that we're very involved. I feel like we are like running together, sorry. I know. I mean, I'm very involved. I go to Lions, I go to PTO. All my kids are involved in all their schools. Through my nonprofit, I've been in every school out there very heavily. So I feel like, I also didn't get any signatures from people I knew. I wanted to like go knock on doors. And I got a lot of people yelling at me that they couldn't have a boat and they couldn't put a fence in. And I was like, cool, not a city issue, sign here. Like cool, that's your covenant, so really sorry. But I really need you to sign this paper, it's great to meet you. So I did a lot of like going and meeting random people. My next door neighbor was like, you didn't ask me to sign. And I was like, because I know you. So I wanted to meet people in that process, which I think was super helpful. I met a ton of people during that, so.
Frankly, my biggest challenge is my husband's work, for sure, because my husband does a fair amount of land development around Horace. A couple of the projects we are personally invested in, Lost River West, for example, again, I personally own a little bit of land, or Jackson Alley, but most of it is him representing his clients as an attorney. And we don't talk about those projects. But I was obviously very upfront with the city. I wrote down every project he's involved in, anything that we have any financial interest in, and I'll recuse myself of any, vote associated with any of his projects. But there is still, like, if you check the Facebook page, they said, FYA, vote no to Rachel Dwyer. Her husband's the reason for the specials in Horace. Well, no, but that is a perception. And so just separating myself from that, those are his clients, and I don't really care about I care about his projects because he and I do have a similar vision for Horace, just that it's really well done and that it has a variety of products. We do have these overarching similarities, but I don't happen to really care about any specific individual project. But that's a challenge for me.
Or half the time, no.
Yeah. People will tell me things all the time.
Bill, did you have a question or was it Chad? I thought one of you.
No, I was just listening. I'm impressed with both of you. I mean, you just very, I'm just both of your backgrounds and what your story, what you can provide the city. And I'm listening, I'm just interested in hearing what you can add to Horace, and I'm very impressed.
That's nice. This is the first thing like this I've ever done today.
Oh, it's the first one. Are there any other forums that you'll be participating in, chamber or any?
Yeah, but I'm doing both. FM Realtors.
Yeah, the realtors. We have a city hall on Thursday, a little, I don't know if it's going to be meet and greet more or a panel.
At Horace?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very good.
Or fire hall.
Yeah.
The residents only. No,
Nobody's checking any door.
I'm a resident at all.
Yeah. We won't take a poll of where you live.
Okay. Another question, just in terms of the organizations that are out there, the chamber, the Building Industry Association, the Realtors Association. How do those organizations fit within your vision for Horace and over the next 4 years? How do you think those organizations can help you and help the city of Horace?
I'm super upfront that I don't know a lot of I don't exactly understand how all the infrastructure plays together, but I understand it's super important. And I don't know why things might be important. So I think we need you guys to educate us, right? Unfortunately, they don't offer this is how you learn to go on city council class. So we need to go talk to people that have built in Horace or built anywhere, put a business together. Maybe not been so angry at each other. Back to the city staff. No, this is different council. City council, you're all sitting at the table for the same goal to better your city. We go to PTO every month, so much fun, to better the school. So if we go to PTO and we don't agree and we don't make progress, it's really a waste of our time and everybody else's time on the back end of it. So we have to use all of the resources. We go to anything like that, you have people come and explain and educate you, and then you make a decision. So I think that's something we definitely need all of you in the room. We need you to tell us what we don't know. And we might tell you things that you don't know. And that's how we get to the common, where everybody wins. And not every time everybody's gonna win, and that's okay.
I agree. I think one of the only notes I took is utilize BIA for data information connection. I think that is huge, is that this group represents a lot of people that have similar goals. And if I don't know something, which will happen a lot, I feel like it's a good hub to reach out to instead of me just reaching out to individuals. It's this collective that I think would be, like when you said you have a lot of data and information. Awesome. That would be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I will just state that from the BIA's perspective, the Realtors Association provides a huge amount of data on home sales, availability of homes and home sales, and can show and track trends where things are going.
Sure.
The chamber does the same from a business perspective, a business climate. And we work collaboratively with all three organizations work very closely together, along with like the downtown business associations or economic development corporations of each community. Routinely, we have meetings here with those different organizations, but the BIA, where we can be helpful to a city oftentimes will bring us to the table to one, they want to know, okay, if we're looking at a change to the comprehensive plan or to the land development code, let's have a conversation. Let's look at the current one. Here's what we're thinking as a vision. What does this do for growth, development, building single family homes or diverse housing stock? How is it going to impact the ability to do that? Because it's market driven. And cities don't want to start dictating. They can maybe put it in a direction, but if they start dictating or mandating versus allowing the market to drive itself, we have home sitting. We're not selling homes if we're not building according to what people want to buy or can afford to buy. And so right now the buzzword is missing middle. And why is that not being produced? Because it's an affordability factor on all fronts. The building industry isn't producing it because it's not selling or it's not renting and so forth. So, and a lot of times when you have residential rooftops, commercial will come with it, which is what Horace needs, is that commercial piece too, to come along with it, but there's obstacles there. So cities will ask the BIA to bring the industry together and to set up a meeting and bring all, because I mean, we involve all aspects of the industry when we have those meetings. If there's a concrete issue, the concrete contractors come in and we look at what the designs and what the codes are relative to that city, and is there a problem that's evolving? So that's just an example of how we can assist. Stormwater, which regulations and compliance has been a big thing for Horace as it's been growing, and it got to be a little bit of the wild west with some of the larger companies and truck drivers running stop signs or not observing traffic signs and that sort of thing. So that's where we can go in, blowing trash in the spring. We can put a notice out right away to, hey, we've got to pay attention and take care of the community that you're working in. So we can communicate, we can bring people together. And ultimately, we just want to see communities growing and healthy in the right way, and how we can contribute as companies to make it better. So just to give you a little bit of an idea of what we do. Any more questions?
Okay.
Oh, Bill and then Elliot.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke a little bit about TIFs and we're a commercial, we do multifamily and mixed use development.
Okay.
And that's what we're looking to do in Horace. How knowledgeable are you about the TIF process in Horace? What are your feelings about that?
Yeah, I am not very knowledgeable about it. I was just looking at information recently on the TIF district, and I think it seems like an awesome idea. I think the TIF districts worked really well for like Bruhala and the Kmart area, right? Because it has to be an area that, I can't remember the word exactly. It's blighted, yes, blighted area. I think that there's a huge opportunity in Horace for that. There are some areas just even right in the middle of Horace around the elevator. Wouldn't it be great to see something there? To me, that's the heart of Horace. I rode my bike. There was a payphone there, and when I was mad at my mom, she took my phone. I rode my bike with some quarters to go call a friend, and I just sat there in front of. I mean, that is the center of Horace, and it's easier to just push business. It's just easier to start from scratch. But it would be so great to see some things there. A Renaissance zone or TIF district, to provide some incentive to do that, and it's not the easy choice.
Elliot?
Yeah, so you brought up the recusal aspect of any decisions that have to be done with regards to development? And have you given any consideration to how, new ordinances that come about, how you would? I mean, are you gonna take the stance of a recusal if it affects developers or?
I don't think unless.
And the reason that I ask is specifically is we had, at one point an anti-monotony clause or ordinance came up regarding, housing. And another one was a noise ordinance things where they're not necessarily, directly related to development, but they would obviously affect development. And I'm just curious if elected, it's gonna be recusal based on.
I agree.
Right, okay.
And I do know that, and
I don't support you voting on things. You know, we just did it.
I do think that there is a lot of gray area, and on things like code or general development, I'm not really planning on recusing myself from every single thing that involves development. I think it would be mostly if there was any financial gain for my husband or I.
Sure.
Then for sure. But other things, I don't really foresee it. And I know it's hard to know if I am being genuine or have integrity on that or do have an ulterior motive. I know I don't. But I know that is going to be tricky for perception of me. It doesn't feel tricky for me.
Right.
Because I know what I think would be a conflict of interest, but I am concerned about the perception.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Or did you, that was directed completely to Rachel or?
Yes, Jordan, how will you handle your conflicts of interest with regards to developing in Horace?
I just I'll take a gate out. I just hate that we're spending so much money on a gate. And then like I'm married to a law enforcement guy, right? Like he's like, we can't enforce the sign. Now we bought signs to put on the gate or on the road that say emergency vehicles only. Those are not enforceable. Like, so we just spend money on things like, yes, it's a good deterrent, but it's also, I don't know, like at this point, I live on the road, I watch trucks drive down it, see them, back up and drive back down my road. So now they drove my road twice, so they could have just followed or went through the road. So I don't know. I would say the only conflict I have is maybe I can't vote on the land use change of the building that my bouncy husband's is in.
But I could see, I don't think it would be a conflict of interest for her to vote on law enforcement matters, even though her husband, you know.
And I just wanted to get your opinion.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking.
She's still pretty passionate about growth in Horace, and I don't plan on recusing myself from all votes about growth and
Sure.
commerce.
Shane?
Bit of a pointed question when it comes to future growth. So talking about being more dense, in order to do that affordably, you're gonna have to go up.
Yeah.
Most likely. So Horace is probably gonna be seeing some applications for some of that more dense growth, which kind of changes the horizon, changes the landscape. All right, so you can answer with yes or no if you want to. I invite you to do that, but are you opposed to changing the landscape to be more of a modern look versus the old
Not opposed.
feel?
I'm a fan of multi-use buildings like that. I think in the right place. I think it's a great use of. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I went back and watched all of like Doug Burgum's Main Street initiatives. And I thought like the Hugo's grocery store that they did in Grand Forks was incredibly cool. And I was like, we could do that in Horace.
Is there something about it or what is it?
I believe it's grocery store, maybe retail, then housing, but it's super cool. It's in their downtown. Why do we build big buildings and put nothing above it? Unless the land can't handle it, like let's use our space well.
Right.
And I don't know, like.
It also creates kind of a central place
Right.
too. And I think like the lights, that's a great building.
And the neighbors might not have loved the lights around it, but I bet they go to it, right?
Mhm.
So like, it's easy to complain about something in your backyard. But then don't go use it, but you're definitely gonna go use it. So I think, like you said earlier, it's like, there is gonna be things that I might not love that get built around me, but I'm gonna probably benefit from it. I also love hearing that school tax. Like, if somebody pay for, school tax when your kids are in school, and I'm gonna pay for school tax when my kids are graduated. And like, that's just how life works. Like, somebody was always ahead of you paying for something, and does it suck? Yes, but that's why we all work really hard to do those things, so.
One final thing to respond to that came to mind. I also think it breaks it up. There's some monotony with just what we already have. Well, there's not enough of it for there to be monotony yet, but if it were to continue exactly like what we have, it would be nice to see that different, that landscape.
Have some competition for the elevator.
Yeah. You should put like a brewery or something around the elevator, something cool. Somebody talked about a climbing wall gym. I'm like, oof. I don't know if I want my kids like on the inside of the elevator, some kind of a rock wall, but a brewery.
Anything would be cool there.
Dan?
Yeah, that's kind of like my question is about downtown, like a big believer in downtown, being the heart
I
of
know.
town. Before I moved to Horace, I don't know if you remain houses in downtown Fargo, so I love
Mhm.
being downtown, but there's also a lot of challenges with it. So do you have any visions or ideas? Kind of older, middle, that
Right?
bigger elevator area, like you mentioned, like a rock wall or distillery, or just
I
things you think would be cool.
think we gotta start with Jordan.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, okay, so I have the apartment building right next to the senior center. So like, I think it'd be super cool to do something different there long term. Tomorrow, maybe not, but I mean, long term, we have a ton of space there. It's the old school. What could we do differently? Can we rearrange our garages and use all of our land and go work with the elevator land? The senior center is awesome, but it's on its days, like it's ending, right? They were talking about putting a sprinkler system in the other day. I was like, no, tear the building down before we buy sprinkler systems. So I think we could do something really cool there.
Yeah.
But I would never bring an idea to the city council right now. I just wouldn't. So I feel like it would be a waste of everyone's time.
I don't have a specific vision. I just invite people to brainstorm and daydream about it because it could be really nice. It's just so empty. It's so spotty. And what we currently use for commercial is sort of these, the like headquarters and the area around Dairy Queen, the hair salon. I mean, those are great. I go to those all the time, but I agree with you that a downtown area would be perfect.
Right. Last question, unless somebody else has one. Oh, Shelley?
Do you feel like something that might be hindering those things coming? I know you said like you wouldn't bring anything to the city council right now because you get nowhere. Do you feel that is one of the biggest challenges right now to commercial development is people voting on city council and bringing up, I guess, ordinances and codes that they know nothing about? And are you willing to look into those? Such as, I know some developers are like, it's like your codes due to setbacks and the amount of like the parking lot that we can do isn't realistic with say grocery store, things like that. And the city council just absolutely being like, nope, we're not even gonna think that. Do you think that is a big hindrance to what's actually going on and why you guys aren't getting the commercial development? And are you willing to?
Definitely like to do my homework on that. I think that part of our city council is maybe known for not being very friendly to new growth industry, commercial, and I think that people know that and can feel it. I think when the tax abatement went away, it was just a message. And so I do think with a shift in city council, hopefully that perception will change.
I also, fire is a huge part of what we do, right? And fire and the city, of course, do not get along. And so that man has to be, like, we have to go back and somebody has to be the first one to say sorry. And we might have to hug it out and then we have to work together. Because when I went to do my bouncy house business, I got to the city and they were like, if you don't do X, Y, or Z, we're gonna send fire to shut you down. So I went to fire and I was like, why are we shutting me down? And they had no idea. They were like, we don't even know who you are. And so they helped me navigate the back way. So they don't communicate, they don't work together, which makes it impossible for you guys. You can't get occupancy without both of those parties working together. And yeah, I think we need a shift in council. That's obvious in this room, but, and I think too, I think once you don't have an alliance, then maybe other votes will change too.
Right. Well, you kind of have, just with your answers, the other questions I was gonna ask, does anybody else have anything? We can wrap up. One last question. Do you have a fresh idea that you would like to share, that you would like to bring to city council or to the city of Horace in your term? And start with Jordan on that one.
Communicate with people, answer emails, be willing to write an email and be proud of it. Also, I think we need to be proud of the decisions we make. If you make a hard decision, then own it and don't waffle back and forth. You're gonna make somebody mad in most every decision, and that's okay. And so I think that's a big one that we struggle with right now. So yeah, I think we have to go in and be confident in what we're voting and make your vote and stick to it and be proud of it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'm a huge fan of this multi-use path connecting parts of town. I've always been nervous letting my kids in Lost River go see their friends in other parts, and I know that that's getting remedied, but there are other parts of Horace that it should be a safe place that feels like a small town you can get from one neighborhood to another. I also just think, yeah, I'll leave it with that, connecting neighborhoods, well, more Horace specific things would be great, like more sports clubs. I know that they just started a Horace wrestling club. Awesome. There could be more of that. As a parent, I'm so sick of driving to North Moorhead to watch a little kid play baseball. It would be great. We have the spaces available. We have the kids, just more youth activity clubs that are specific to Horace, I think would be community building as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, with that, why don't we do the 3-minute closing then? And so we can let you get back to your life too. And I lost track again, whose turn it would be to start.
I'm not sure. Yeah, in closing, I don't know. I think I answered a lot of what you guys had to ask. I think it's super important to work together. I think that's our biggest lack, right? And just being proud of what you do. I also really love, like, I live on the south side of Horace and my kids want to bike to school, but their option is 17. So they don't get to do that. And so I'm really passionate as well about connectivity. I really want someone to develop the land right there because it would, help all of our neighborhood go to things in Horace. Also love the idea of more things out there. I would love to see a bunch of businesses. I have a building right off of Cheyenne Street in West Fargo, and all of those things were built in a TIF district of some sort. And I have a full occupancy in a building because they can walk to things and they can walk home from things and they want to be a part of it. And I think all those things are very important and we don't have it. Using the spaces we have, the elevator would be awesome. All the houses along 17, maybe by BIA-RRVs. Is that a place for residential? Maybe not anymore. So I just think we just need to be more creative and come to the table with better ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked too much either about just keeping costs low for residents in general with property taxes. The part that we can control at city council is obviously just the mill rate. And I think also being really fair about special assessments. It's necessary, but I think that there's a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of inconsistency with how they're drawing their districts, and residents talk about that quite a bit too. Community, keeping Horace, I think I've talked about that a fair amount, keeping Horace feeling like one solid community. This group is probably the questionnaire that you had us fill out was the most technical in a great way because I did have to dig in and learn about a few new things. And so I'm very glad that you mentioned that you serve as its resource, because how interesting too, because I think a lot of you are competitors with each other. And then collectively, you are this wealth of knowledge. And so I really appreciate you guys asking us these tough questions and I guess, just explaining how we could utilize your group.
Thank you. No, and again, I think Horace has got a great future if you, can get elected. They're set up for a great future. We are happy to provide any kind of data or information. Sometimes it's not welcomed. We were asked to provide data before, but sometimes it isn't necessarily welcome. So we, walk carefully, so to speak.
Project, is it kind of like project by project based? You would reach out for information?
Yeah, we can provide you with general information just in terms of what the consumer is facing in terms of
Yeah.
interest rates and how it might reflect back on the current housing stock, whether it's sitting, the cost of home building, residential new construction or commercial. We have a study that it's an economic impact study on how new residential construction pays for itself within a certain number of years. And so what that return on investment is for a community, and how it relates back to growth. So there is a lot of information that we can provide. I just want to say thank you for you guys to be participating and just giving us the time today. It was really wonderful to have you here. And you're both very intelligent. I don't know how you manage running for city council with the jobs that you both have and in your life, but it's impressive. So thank you for being here. Let's give them a round of applause.